Build creative confidence. Beat the inspiration addiction. Join the Writer's Gym.
Joining me on the Writer's Gym today is Kayleigh Dobbs. Kayleigh is an author, editor and playwright from South Wales. She's the founder of Happy Goat Horror, a review site and podcast with a focus on independent horror. Her recent short story collection, The End, Black Shuck Shadows, was a 2023 Imagine Award finalist. This year, she has presented and interviewed authors for World Fantasy Con and Edgelit, and you can find her at happygoathorror.com. Kayleigh Dobbs!
Hello!
It is so lovely to have you back at the Writer's Gym.
Oh, it's lovely to be here. Thank you for including me again.
I was reading your biography just before I came in, and I was enjoying it so much because when I met you, I originally met you as a reviewer, and I then found out you were having your collection with Black Shuck Books, who my two collections were with. You've also been in a Flame Tree anthology. You've done tons and tons of things, and you've been such a supporter of writers and a champion of writers. Before we start talking about the sponsored right, which, you know, does all of those things for Macmillan Cancer Support, and I think that's probably why it's just been such a great match having you in that. I would love to hear about you and writing, because you've always been a writer, you've always been a reader. Has that been a lifelong companion?
Well, thank you for saying that. I do try my best to champion as much, especially indie work, as humanly possible. Yeah, I'm very excited about the Flame Tree anthology because that's been a bucket list press for me to get into. It's called This Way Madness Lies, and it's a mental health themed horror anthology. Oh, I don't know if it's specifically horror, but that's what I went for. And that one was an interesting submission call for me because I apparently, famously as a reviewer, hate mental health themed stories, usually just because I find that mental health issues can be used as a lazy shortcut without respectfully representing like the mental illness or whatever is being used. So I came up with a very weird story that I hope reflected some of my own journey in a relatable way to people. But it's about a book that is on someone's eternal TBR pile. There's just watching other books get picked. So that just came out of a joke about my own TBR pile becoming sentient and angry with me. So yes, I'm really thrilled and honoured to be a part of that anthology alongside so many amazing authors that I'm a fan of and, chosen by editors at Flame Tree. It's just really made my year.
That's brilliant. It's out now, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that they're officially launching it next month.
In the wonderful time travel that is podcasting, I think it will be now by the time we are saying this in the future. Which isn't overcomplicating things at all.
No, it's out now, everyone.
Yeah. If now is a little bit later than the 19th of August in 2025. Speaking of the future in 2025, you and I joined forces in October for Green Ink Sponsored Right.
Yes.
And it was very interesting actually hearing you say that call out really spoke to you, because when there are certain things that we see done wrong and we see the damage of that thing being done wrong, being able to be a voice in the right direction for that is a very powerful thing, isn't it? I think I felt something similar with Sponsored Right. It was a case of, I want to raise money for this charity. I want to do it in a way that uses who I am, rather than going, oh, I can't fundraise because I'm not a swimmer, I'm never going to jump out of a plane on a parachute, etc., etc. I went, what matters to me? What do I enjoy doing? And sort of harnessed that. I'm wondering, when you see those titles for the Sponsored Right, do you do a similar thing? Do you look at that and go, what is speaking to me? Is that your way in?
Yeah, I think so. I just think that we're emotional creatures, and if anything inspires you, even if it's an element of the charity or how you've been affected by what the charity supports, I just think that it's worth exploring as best you can. And I found it therapeutic last year, and I'm very honoured to be a part of it again. Some subjects are so difficult to tackle, not just personally, but in a way that will translate to other people when they're reading as well, I find, because sometimes there is a bit of a split between you feel like you've expressed yourself, and then how other people perceive it might be different to how you meant it or whatever. So, but I always think that charity projects are always worthwhile to me, and exploring really difficult themes is always really worthwhile to me as a writer and a reader, actually.
It's lovely hearing you talk about it as therapeutic, because for me that was sort of the point, that when I started it and I hadn't done a great deal and it was all incredibly new, for me, knowing something had to exist, and it wasn't about the quality of that something or about the length of that something, it was about make something happen, because that goes to the sponsors and the charity benefits no matter what. I found that took a lot of weight off my shoulders, and I did find it therapeutic. I think some people hear it and go, but you've only got a day to write it, which is an entirely legitimate thing to think, because we have only got a day to write it and then a day to edit it, and then it all goes to Steve Shaw and it gets made pretty and out it goes to the sponsors. But can you talk a bit more about what that is for you, what felt good or what felt therapeutic about doing it?
Yeah, so right, I don't want anyone to feel sad when I say this, because people feel sad. But right before the event, I was thinking about what I wanted to write about, and then unfortunately, about a week or two before the sponsored write, I lost my cat. And I know this is going to sound weird to people. She had some health stuff and apparently had a very aggressive cancer that was masked by the other health stuff. So we didn't know literally until the day that she just suddenly passed away. So it was a very traumatic day. I found for a couple of weeks, I just couldn't, I wasn't like functional, because was family to me. And I had her for 15 years and she was a great cat. And sorry, I get a little emotional about it, but when I sat down to write, what ended up coming out was just all of my like raw emotion about that. And it really helped me put things in some sort of sense of order, like my grief and stuff. Sorry, I didn't mean to get emotional.
That's right. You never need to be sorry.
And I think when you're sitting with something like grief is a very difficult emotion, I think. And when you're sitting with it, and it's been a shocking experience as well, because I wasn't like, we thought that everything was fine. So it was, we were just so surprised. I couldn't make sense of anything or figure out how to feel or how to like move on. Like it was really weird. But then when I sat to write that story last year, it just really helps kind of make sense of things as much as you can in a situation like that. And it kind of like purged quite a lot of stuff. So I've never read that story again, because I just thought, I just don't think I can, because these are all of like my heaviest emotions have come out here. But I hope that what I wrote last year, I felt a bit uplifted at the end of it, because it was really about love, that story, and connection and stuff. So yeah, I just found it it just helped. It just really helped, because I felt like I could kind of like, okay, that part of this process is done for me now. And now I can like move on to other stuff. But yes, whether it's loss, whether it's a person or a pet or anything, it really hits you quite hard, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. You can't see it from where the computer is, but Teddy, my cat's photo, is right there, and he watches my workday from over there, and he was a senior cat when he died. And they're what can I say, they're people, they are family members, and they are people, and it is that simple. And I'm really, you said you didn't want people to feel sad hearing that. I'm going to sort of echo and say that I don't want to say glad and mean glad, but I think you'll know what I mean when I say I'm glad that you took that sponsored write as a sort of master key to get into your own head to find what needed to be said. And I don't know if this is how you feel about it now, but certainly there've been years where I've written something and it was something I needed to write, and possibly if they weren't the sort of, oh, sod it, I have to do something quality, you might play safer. One might hold back or go down a more familiar route. But actually there's something about that is a release.
And because that kind of experience is so universal, because everyone either has experienced it or will, unfortunately, it's just part of life. And I'm uncomfortable sharing deeply personal things about most other things, but about things like that, I feel okay, because I just think pretty much everyone can relate to the feeling or some aspect of it. And so I found that there was a sense of community in the project last year for me. Like I felt connected to the other people partaking, even though we all have different experiences and things we're writing about. And even though, I was writing at home by myself, but, linked to everyone, you know what I mean? It just felt like it was like it felt like a supportive communal project, and a nice, it was a nice thing to be part of, and I'm really happy to get to participate again.
I'm so glad. And with the titles each year, obviously we're trying to reflect something that is, well, green, Macmillan Cancer Support, and that's always been part of it. But also something to do with quality of life. That Macmillan's mission is best possible quality of life for everyone affected by cancer. And that's not just people who have cancer. That is people who are carers, who are friends, who are families, who are affected and part of the wider tree that we're all on in any way. And as always, an author's chosen a title, and chosen by Rhianna Pratchett. It's Somewhere That's Green, Paradises, Utopias and Happy Places. Now, a lot of us are in the horror community, fantasy, horror, other, in all possible ways. I think there's going to be some subversion there of that happy place at some point. But I also think that without the dark, we cannot see the light. Without each other, those words are meaningless, right?
I would say so. I find with horror stories, very often they end on a happy note. And I think the people who don't read horror don't realise that. How much
hope is a key, is the whole point of everything.
Yeah. They're quite often underdog stories of people vanquishing evils and people, triumphing over things. So I think that's what I like about horror. And I think it lends itself well to pretty much all themes.
Absolutely. And it's the ultimate what if, isn't it? That, a lot of anxiety comes not from what we fear, but from thinking that it's wrong to fear things or pushing it away. Whereas if you go, all right, what if? And then behind that and then behind that, there's a lot of empowerment there, I think.
Yeah. And I'm afraid of everything pretty much. So I could always use it.
Absolutely. I mean, I've gone on about this enough times that there's probably a tick sheet of how many times Rachel says this for regular listeners. But I did used to think I did not like horror because I didn't like body horror. And I did not notice for years that the Gothic novels and pretty much all of 19th century fiction and ghost stories and all of the stuff I loved was as much horror as body horror as anything else. And you can have favourites, it's fine, and there's so much richer than I realised.
I really think there's horror out there for everybody. Just this week, my cousin bought a Rachel Harrison book because she does like horror, but she doesn't like being really scared, and she doesn't like extreme stuff at all. And I thought, and I've been racking my brain for such a long time, like, who can I recommend? And then I was like, oh, Rachel Harrison. What a great example of an author that has great horror themes and stuff, doesn't go, crazy with the human suffering and element. So, I think every time I make a video that's reviewing a bunch of books, they're all completely different types of horror altogether. I always have to be like, oh yeah, this is this subgenre, this is this.
I was thinking about that because we are always, whether we do it on purpose or not, we're always advertising what it is we are, what it is we do. And by doing that, you're communicating such an important message that all of these are, there isn't a hierarchy there. It isn't that some things are more horror than others. And although I do think sometimes that message does get diluted, but actually the whole point, I mean, having said hope, I think for me, it's actually identity, that when you understand what's going on in your head, you're living your own life much more actively. You're living it as your own. And I do think horror is an important place for that.
I was speaking with, a few months ago, I spoke to Professor Richard Hand, who has specialised in horror for pretty much his whole, like all different types, like screen, theatre, radio, dramas, everything. I've never met anyone that has as much space in his brain for horror as this guy. And we were talking about this sort of elitist attitude towards horror that you often see from other genres where they think it's like really lowbrow, low form of art and storytelling and everything. And he said that what people seem to forget is that all of the stories that we're raised on from children are horror stories, like folklore and fairy tales. Yeah. They all come from horror. And he said when even the child friendly versions of them. They tend, like Hansel and Gretel is a horror story.
Sleeping Beauty.
Sleeping Beauty is a horror story. Yeah. So basically any of those.
Cinderella, my God.
Oh, Cinderella. Yeah. Rumpelstiltskin.
Oh, yeah. I mean, when you get to the Three Bears, then it's extra interesting.
Oh, yeah. There's a little subtext going on. Yeah, it is interesting that we kind of all start from a similar sort of story place of like, we're all absorbing this. And then at some point people sort of disconnect from it and go, I never liked any horror. And I'm like, well, you probably did.
Or it doesn't count as horror because it can wear this hat as well. And we prioritize this hat. Yeah,
it's a fairy tale. So therefore it's fluffy and nice. But actually, when you think about it, you're like, oh, what did I just read?
Or even thrillers. I mean, I'm writing something that, while I was doing my PhD, a previous version of it, it was domestic noir. Mm-hmm. And that whole thing that I'm in love with about the separation between the face that we think we're supposed to show, you know, the idea that the world wants perfectlife.com and the gap, the perceived gap in the self between it, and how you can sort of fall into that gap and feel that you're a failure. Whereas actually what thriller does and what horror does is it allows you to narrow that gap. And I think all of coaching is about this as well, that you are narrowing the gap between what is in here and what the world sees out here. And the narrower that gap, the more confidently and truthfully you're able to show up. And I just think horror's the perfect place for that. So what was domestic noir is now turning out to be commercial thriller. And I'm just thinking, not that I don't love domestic noir, because I am thoroughly in love with it, but it's so interesting how we can internalize a lot of messaging without realizing it. And I guess that's another reason I hope the sponsored write is freeing, is that you do whatever happens and that there is no judgment. There are no word counts. There is no preferred genre. There is just out of the head it comes, into the world it goes.
Yeah, and that's a great thing about the time frame and everything with the sponsored write is you don't have time to overthink what you're doing. And I think that you get makes the process quite pure, telling a story without panicking and, you know, spending 6 days redrafting. And sometimes the first thing that comes out is the heart of the thing you're trying to get at in the first place.
And it can always evolve into something later on. You know, you can do future versions. It may have different homes as it goes through the world, because we ask for a 6 month, you know, 6 months it's a world exclusive, and then you take it and you do whatever it does next. I would love to talk about Happy Goat Horror.
Oh, go on.
That's all right.
Yeah.
Because what you've created has just, it's absolutely, it's a passion project in the truest sense, and it has done so much good for people. Do you want to sort of tell us a story? Tell us where it came from.
Yeah. Okay. So I used to write book reviews for a couple of different websites, and sort of just like little horror articles, like listy things, like 10 things you didn't know about The Descent and stuff like that. But when you write for other websites, a lot of the time I was taking the review requests that were coming in to those websites. I suppose I was free to write about where I wanted, but I tended to just go by what was on the review pile. And I think I just wanted my own space, because I really love talking about books. I think that reading books, talking about books, they're like separate hobbies almost, and activities. And I don't have a lot of people I don't have anyone really in my sort of like face-to-face life to finish a book and go talk about it with that reads the same stuff as me. And I just wanted a space basically to rant or rave or whatever it was. And because I'm an indie author, I understand how difficult it is to get book reviews. And especially when my first collection came out, I was like, oh, I'm really proud of myself. But I just didn't realize that only 7 people in the world were going to read it. I didn't know anything about marketing or how indie publishing actually works. And I got a bit better at that. But you can send out hundreds of review requests, and you can have all of these friends that genuinely support you, but not everyone is going to want to read your book. Or if they do and they don't like it, they don't want to leave a review because they're worried about offending you and things. So I just wanted to make a space that was reader and author friendly, because there is this thing about like, authors shouldn't be in reviewer spaces, in reader spaces, but I'm like, but authors are readers a lot of the time. I don't think that authors should be weighing in on reviews of their own books online, for example. Like, don't come at someone on Goodreads because they gave you 2 stars. But I feel like this could be more of a merged community. And I just wanted to make a space where absolutely everyone was welcome to send me their fiction to review. And I will read and review as much as I possibly can. I never turn anything away. Special circumstances maybe, but generally I will review everything. Yeah, and I just wanted I wanted to be a trustworthy source for people who are like-minded, that like the kind of fiction I like, to see what I'm reading and whatever. And then the name came out of, I have it's a bit hard to see. I've got a black Phillip tattoo here in my horror sleeve.
Let's take the time for that. YouTube will see it. Podcast will need to go to YouTube. Oh, that's beautiful.
So this is a full horror sleeve. And then this is Black Phillip from The Witch. And I was asking my niece, so she would have been 5-ish at the time that this conversation happened. She was looking at my arm and I said, oh, do you like my tattoos? And she said, no, except for the happy goat. And I'd been racking my brain for a name for the website, because I didn't want to have like Kayleigh's Book Corner. I wanted something that was a bit more distinctive and says what it is.
Yeah. And knows who it is, knows what it is.
Yeah. I was like, So, and I'd been like, oh, yeah, the goat thing fits. It's, it's great horror imagery. And I love, I want it to be a happy place. And it's horror, and I wanted to say all that, and I was like, "You little genius! That is Happy Goat Horror. That's what I'm going with." So yeah, so I started the website, and then it took off a bit faster. I didn't know if anyone was ever going to look at it, but it's got a nice little community built up around it now, which is really nice. And then I started the YouTube channel about 6 or 12 months later. I can't quite remember. I've made a lot of videos on it, like just another place, another format to talk about the books I'm reading, but I do spend all of my free time, pretty much, doing goat-related activities, I call it. Doing some goating.
I do love it when it pops up. You've been goated, you say on Facebook when you've reviewed one. Rachel Knightley, you've been goated.
People have, I think, it's just turned into like a fun little thing. I want to make goated badges that I can send out to people when I review their books. So I'm looking at little things like that, little sort of author swag that I can send to people when they've been goated. But
it's so appealing, honestly. it ticks that little, kids that love stationery, because that's another thing, writers and readers, you just know they're going to want to have the badge.
Or like a pen or something. Yeah,
it's like a merit mark at school or something.
Thank you for letting me talk about Happy Goat Horror, because it started off as like, oh, I don't know how long I'll do this for. And it's really become, I've just made so many friends through it, like-minded readers. And it's really nice to know, like when someone tells me that they bought a book that they would never have heard of otherwise, maybe because they read my review or something. And it just makes me feel really happy, both that I could share something that I really like and that I know that someone's getting a sale. Like, because I'm on both sides of it. So it's, I think I don't make any money from it at the moment, and I might never, but that's not going to stop me from making my videos and writing my reviews.
And the thing is also, I think, and I don't know if you see it like this, but I'm guessing you've had similar experiences, that as with the sponsored write, there was a hunger in me that I was starting out writing, and it was a reason to, quote marks, have to write that. Whereas if there weren't the charity aspect, one would find reasons to stay small, to play small. Whereas when there was that, and I knew it was going to help, it made me write more. And I'm wondering if seeing the encouragement and seeing the pleasure that it gives writers and readers, I'm wondering if that did play into your confidence with your first collection with Black Shuck Books, for example. That was there a relationship between those sides of life? Yes,
there was, because the more I read, I never meant for Happy Goat Horror to be so indie focused. It's just naturally, I realize that that's what I really, really care about, is because I'll review Stephen King books, but Stephen King doesn't need me to give him a boost. If that makes, whereas like indie authors, any boost is like, I find any boost helpful, anything at all. And I have read so many great pieces of work from authors that I might never have seen their book. Like if I'd read the back cover synopsis, I might have thought, I don't think that's for me. I don't read the back cover synopsis of any book anymore before I pick it up, because I've learned that some people are really good at writing a novel and not so great at summarizing it on the back of it. Like, so because I read so much that breaks the conventional rules of storytelling, because I find that indie horror or indie fiction is much more free and experimental in style and the kinds of things that people are writing about and the way they're expressing it. It made me feel a lot more confident to just go with my gut for what I wanted to write and stop worrying about, oh, I have to have a 3-act structure, or, oh, I don't think I should go into that theme because who am I to talk about that theme? Whatever it was. And because when I first spoke to you, I was having a confidence crisis and I hadn't written anything for a year or so. Yeah, and just so many author voices all the time supporting everybody, because I see that so much more now because I'm in reviewer spaces. Yeah, it gave me such a boost as an author to just get the thing done and stop worrying about it, and hopefully people will like it. But if they don't, that's okay, because there's another project that I can work on.
Did you meet Steve? Was it a case of, I want to be in Black Shuck Shadows, or what did you choose, or what happened?
I think I must have met Steve initially, probably was like Facebook friends with him through mutual writer stuff. And then I met him in person, probably at a horror convention before I started going to book conventions. I know I'd met him, and I secretly did want to have a Shadows book. I got a bunch of them on my shelf here and more that I haven't read. I have nearly all of them, and I really wanted to be in one, but I didn't have the confidence to ask. I didn't know how it went. And then I met him again at ChillerCon, and he asked me if I wanted to submit something, and I didn't have something to submit, but I was like, yes. I was kind of like, oh my God, yeah. And then I calmed down. I was like, oh, well, sure, if you want me to, Steve, I could maybe whip something up. I had like an idea, and I just worked so hard on it, and it was such a great feeling to be asked. I thought, even if he doesn't actually take it when I submit it to him, at least I've got something I've been thinking about for a long time, and I didn't have the confidence to put together. I'm not saying I broke any new ground or anything with my collection, but it's themed, and I wanted to link stories.
There needs to be a swear box for writers talking about their own work like that, because I think it's such an important thing for people to see happens, is that the person there who was submitting in the first place, and the person sitting here who's got her story in a Flame Tree anthology, and then fast forward another 3 years, 6 years. How many years was it between your first collection and where we are right now?
Oh, lots.
It's not lots and lots though, is it?
My first collection is sadly out of print because it was with Sinister Horror Company. And that, I think, was 2015. That's when I started getting published in various anthologies. And then Justin asked me if I sent him a story, but there wasn't a call for it. He didn't have anything open he could use it with. And then he said, oh, well, we could do this as an ebook. And then maybe do you want to do a collection? And I was like, oh, I do have a bunch of stories, actually. And then between that and now, I went through a patch where I didn't write anything because I had a massive confidence crisis and just stopped.
But I'll see you not very long and raise you. 2015 to 2025, 10 years, right?
Yeah.
All of that has been fitted into that. And we're sitting here doing this. And then in another, if we look to 10 years from now, it's not unreasonable to think, and other things will have happened. So I'm not saying that when we look back at things we've written before, we don't go, oh, I know how I could have improved that now, because that's life in all conceivable ways. But, in a way you wouldn't want it to not be. You wouldn't want to sort of look back and not think, I can see how I've grown. I can see that I'm still growing. I will be growing always,
Yeah,
that's a cool thing.
Yeah, I actually had funny you should bring that up, because I actually had the opportunities my first collection was called Corpsing, and it's now out of print, sadly. And I haven't rehomed any of the stories, but I was asked by an editor that I like if I had a comedy horror story that I could submit for this anthology that came out. Tales from the Lark Side, it's called. And I was like, oh, actually, I do. I have a story called Bitey Backman that I would quite like to rehome. It's like a comedy. It's a silly comedy horror. And she was like, oh, yeah, no, I've read it. And then I was like, oh, great. Okay. She was like, yeah, I'd love to take that. And then I had the opportunity to edit it. Now, obviously, I probably wrote it like 12 years ago if it was published 10 years ago. And it was fun to edit, because I was like, oh, like whenever you take a red pen to your own stuff, I was like, oh, I have improved, I would like to think, because I got to change the stuff that would make me cringe a bit looking back. So yeah, it was fun.
I did that as well, because the one of the stories in my Black Shuck Shadows collection in Beyond Glass it had won first prize in Writers Forum magazine, And that was the story that my now partner had dared me to write when I said I don't write horror. And that became a horror collection. And yeah, I also took many colours of ink to that. And, you know, you see it grow with you. And it is a good feeling, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't think it's ever a bad thing if you look back on something that you wrote before and it makes you cringe a little bit, because it must show improvement, growth, or like even just change of perspective and what you want to put out. Yeah. Great collection, by the way, Beyond Glass. I loved it.
Thank you. I'm really, it's so lovely hearing you say that. And you've been so encouraging and positive, not just about me and my writing, but about the community, about all of the ways that horror and the people who write it have just so much to give. And it really is fabulous what you do. So I'm really, really, really happy you're on the Sponsored Write.
Well, we've covered quite a lot of stuff.
And I feel like dedicating this conversation to Teddy the cat and to your cat. What was your cat's
Whirly.
name?
It was baby cat, but then she just started responding to Whirly one day because she was a swirly twirly little whirly cat. But yes, I have a little picture of her over there, and
I think if you're happy to send a photo of her when we get your photo and in your bio, could we also get hers?
Oh yeah, I have so many.
I think it needs to be done. I think it really needs to be done.
She's a great source of inspiration. She had quite the personality, I have to say.
I think we understand humans much better when we spend time with cats, but it's been such a joy, Kayleigh. Thank you so much for joining the Writers' Gym. And a reminder that all of these links for everything Kayleigh's talking about and for the Writers' Gym will be in show notes. And Kayleigh Dobbs, thank you so much for joining the Writers' Gym.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. And if I can go with my goatee sign off, just like to say bleat.
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 You've visited the Writers' Gym with author and coach Dr. Rachel Knightley. Production and sound design are by Ashley Lexine, and theme music is by Chris Gregory. To join a Writers' Gym workout online or in London, as a guest or as a member, visit writersgym.com or email thewritersgym@rachelknightley.com.